Hello friends, welcome to AJIS Academy Indore. Please share and subscribe my channel AJIS Academy on YouTube for more videos on different topics. Today's topic is implications of India becoming the fourth largest economy in the world. My lesson plan includes why it is in the news, causes of the rise of Indian economy, implications of India's rise on the world politics, challenges ahead, and finally conclusion. According to International Monetary Fund and World Bank, India has become the fourth largest economy in the nominal GDP terms in the world after the USA, China and Germany. Friends, as you know that as of now in 2025, the size of the economy of the US is 28 trillion American dollar. That of China is 18 trillion dollar, and that of India is 4.2 trillion dollar, and that of Germany is 4.8 trillion dollar. So now India has surpassed Japan and has become the fourth largest economy in the world. According to the estimates of some economists, by 2027-28, India is to surpass even Germany, and then it would become the third largest economy in GDP term. Friends, as you know that as per the purchasing power parity or PPP terms, India ranks third in the world since 2010 after China, the US. In PPP terms, China is the largest economy, having 35 trillion American dollar, followed by the US of 28 trillion dollar and India of 15 trillion American dollar. However, there are challenges in the Indian economy, and these are income inequality. As you know that India has become the most unequal society in the world, with top 10% of the rich people amassing more than 50% wealth of India. Secondly, there is acute shortage of job, so much so that there is a 23% unemployment among the youths between the age group of 18 to 24, and overall employment is 7 to 9%. In addition, there is inadequate educational and health facilities. Moreover, there is a problem of inclusive growth, so much so that some states have progressed by leaps and bounds while others are lagging behind. For example, per capita income of Bihar is less than 5 times than that of Delhi. Now I switch over to the point as to why Indian economy has progressed so fast in recent years. This is because of the consistent growth rate of 6 to 8% over the past decade. Services, manufacturing, and even agriculture witnessed tremendous growth in the last 20 years, and particularly since the liberalization policy adopted in 1991. Secondly, India has a young population having the median age of 28 years. So India has large and growing workforce. This growing workforce has to be utilized to the maximum in order to reap the demographic dividends. The rising middle class in India has further increased the demand for goods and services. India has witnessed structural reforms like GST, reforms in insolvency and bankruptcy code, digitalization, Make in India, Startup India programs, production linked incentives to boost export in our country, and improvement in ease of doing business. Financial inclusion through Jan Dhan Yojana, UPI and direct benefit transfer further increase the economic participation of the masses. The robust growth in the services sector further boosted our economy, so much so that as of now services sector contribute more than 50% to the GDP. Huge spending in infrastructure further reduce the cost of logistics. Ports, airports, highways, and digital connectivity have been further improved upon. Friends, as you know that by the end of 2025, there would be more than 1 billion consumers of internet in India. Foreign direct investments as well as indigenous capital investments further led to the growth of different sectors of the economy. Now I switch over to the point as to what would be the implications of the rising economy of India. There would be greater strategic autonomy and global influence of India. India would be able to balance between the Western blocs led by the US, EU, UK, Australia, Canada, and other developed countries on the one hand, and Russia, China, and Asian countries on the other. Similarly, India can assert more influence in world bodies like the UN Security Council, IMF, World Bank, WTO, and world groupings like G20, BRICS, Quad, and SCO, etc. The rising economic power further would make India as a counterweight to China in the Indo-Pacific region. India would challenge the dead diplomacy of China by giving more aid for the development of littoral states of Indian Ocean. The vigorous economic assistance provided by India will make it a global power in the third world countries. A strong economy will further allow India for greater military spending. Friends, as you know that as of now India is spending 84 billion American dollar annually against 296 trillion American dollar by China annually. So there is a huge gap. The rising economic power of India will allow it for further spending on military equipment and the modernization of military setup. Friends, the increasing economic power of India would further lead to the shifting of global supply chains. It is expected that most of the multinational companies operating in China would shift to India for their productions on account of the comparative low wages and ease of doing business. Similarly, the Indian leadership would feel better confidence in concluding free trade agreements with other developed countries of the world. For example, India is now on the verge of concluding free trade agreement with European Union. Friends, as you know that India has already made free trade agreements with countries like UAE, Australia, and UK. It is expected that with the passage of time and with the increasing tariff policy of the President Trump of the US, India will diversify its free trade agreements with other developed countries of the world. This would further expand India's access to new markets, and it will also save India from the policy of protectionism adopted by several countries. An important implication of the rising power of India would be the emergence of multipolar world and the weakening of the dominance of the US and China in world politics. India would be able to assert its power or influence in the world bodies like World Bank, IMF, WTO, and world groupings like G20, SCO, and BRICS. With the increasing economic power of India, it would be able to assert and bargain with China in matters relating to border disputes in the Indo-Pacific regions, and it will play a greater role in the Middle East and Africa. India would be able to effectively deal with terrorism. And friends, as you know that India launched Operation Sindoor on 7th May 2025, whereby it took revenge of the killing of 26 tourists in Jammu and Kashmir by terrorists, and its Air Force missiles struck deep into Pakistan, destroyed terror outfits inside Pakistan and several airfields deep into Pakistan. Now friends, I switch over to challenges ahead for the Indian economy in future. As I have already told you, the biggest challenge is the inequality of wealth, whereby a few people have amassed a huge amount of money. There is a huge gap between the poor state and the rich state. The per capita income of Bihar is 10 times less than that of Goa, and so there is a huge regional disparity in India. An important challenge for Indian economy is to solve the problem of unemployment. Friends, as you know that there is 23% unemployment among the youths between the age group of 18 to 24, and overall unemployment is 7 to 9%. This unemployment problem has to be tackled immediately. There is a huge gap of infrastructure between the rural and urban sectors, urban regions. Rural areas are suffering from power shortages, and this impinges upon the agricultural activities. India will have to tackle the problem of literacy. Friends, as you know that according to 2011 census, there was only 74% literacy in our country, and 4.6% was the total expenditure, and India spends 4.6% of its GDP annually. It must be increased to 6 to 8%. Similarly, India spends only 2.1% of its GDP on health care. There is a need to have universal health care, whereby even the poorest of the poor should get maximum health care facilities, so that the productivity of our labor force is enhanced. There is also a need to accelerate the process of urbanization. As of now, India has 36% urbanization. It must reach 50% by 2040. There is a low female work participation of 23% in India against 60% in China and South Korea. An important factor is immigration of 1 million skilled workers annually to other developed countries of the world, and this is purely a brain drain. This must be stopped. To conclude, friends, as I have already told you that India has become the 4th largest economy of the world in nominal GDP, and by 2027 and 28 it is destined to become the 3rd largest economy of the world. But the problem is that there is a big gap in the scale of economies between India and that of China and the US. As of now, friends, the economy of China is 4.5 times greater than that of India in nominal GDP terms, and 2.5 times greater than India in purchasing power parity. In order to catch the Chinese economy, there should be continuous 7 to 8% growth rate in our economy for the next 20 years. Friends, as you know that in 1980s, the size of the economies of India and China was the same. But after the opening of Chinese economy in 1979, it experienced 10% annual growth rate for 30 years from 1980 to 2010, leading to its becoming the 2nd largest economy of the world in nominal GDP and the biggest economy in PPP terms. Friends, as you know that the basic reason for the success of Chinese economy were 3 factors. These were huge indigenous capital investment and foreign direct investment. Secondly, export oriented growth. And thirdly, enhanced productivity. As you know that in China, even as of now, the gross fixed capital formation is 40 to 45% against India's 32%. So, in order to make Indian economy at par with China in a span of 10 to 15 years, it is incumbent to increase the gross fixed capital formation by 40%. We must enhance our productivity in agriculture and manufacturing sectors. Thirdly, there is need to export our goods and services so that the gap between export and import is reduced and the balance of trade must be in favor of India, whereby we import less than we export.